we're going to look at some of the most common and key type of charts and techniques to use. There are 1,000 different techniques out there. Oh my gosh, there's so many ways you can overanalyze stuff. We're going to look at the most common things that you'll see over and over, and things that you can easily start with and start using yourself. At the end of this, my hope is that you'll be really comfortable and start using technical analysis. So first off, the line chart. Oh my gosh, you see that all the time. It's hard to avoid. And because it works, and it really gives you a really quick and easy understanding of what's going on. Show your closing price over a specified time period, and it may show volume. Volume being how much trades are happening. Is it a high volume day or a low volume day? So it's going to show all that on one chart. Let's take a closer look at that here. So here's a typical line type chart. I'm taken from GDAX. There's real live stuff you can look at. This is, you can see on the upper left where it says price chart, I've chosen a line chart. I've chosen over a 30D or 30-day period. You can choose the length of these charts. It could be for 4-hour charts, real short time periods, to 30 days or longer type of periods. But this happens to be a 30-day period when we're looking at this chart. A couple of things when you're looking at a chart, just kind of explain and be clear on so you get a good feel for it. One is the price is the vertical axis, as we talked about. Price is the vertical axis. Time is on the horizontal axis. So if you start on the far left, time over those 30 days is, day one would be closest to where they intersect the price and time chart, and 30 days out would be to the far right along the horizontal or bottom or time axis. Price fluctuates over that period of time, so you can see in the graph where you have all these peaks and valleys, that's where the pricing is fluctuating over time. I've highlighted with a red circle the top or peak in this particular chart and the bottom or the very bottom of this chart in terms of price, and you can see there's pretty wide fluctuation between the peak and the bottom. I don't happen to have the actual numbers on the side. You normally would have that. I just don't have it. You don't need it for the demonstration purposes, but you can see the difference, that there is a difference between the high and the low price. So this is a typical type of chart. Also, you might see a lot of overlaid on top of a line chart, a pricing line chart, is volume. This you see all the time. You may not, but you usually will. And the volume is the bottom part there where you have these bars that go up and down. In this case, like a green bar would represent an up day, it went up for that day, and red would be the end result, the price went down for that day. You can kind of see where the green lines sort of match up with where it's going up for the prices and red goes down. It might be harder to see as you get in some of the closer together squiggly lines, but you can see that some days are up and some days are down. And then the height of the line, of those volume lines, shows you an indication of how much volume there was graphically. So if we look at this chart, you can see everything's kind of pretty smooth, everything's going along until we get to the far, not all the way to the right, but the far right where it really went down in price, that bottom red circle. And you can see all these red lines where there's a lot of volume, a lot of people trading, and then green, a lot of people trading to go drive it back up, the price of it. So in that trough area, there was a big drop and a big rise in pricing is what's happening there. Another thing you can do with your chart is you can start seeing some trends, and we're going to draw trend lines in another lesson, but if you look here, I'm going to draw just a little line here on this next one, and you can see when I'm at my peak there, if drawing the lines connecting two other peaks, you can say I've connected to two other peaks, you can see the line kind of downward sloping. Well, that shows me that there's a downward trend going on. Obviously, when we get to the end of that downward trend, it's kind of like falling off a cliff, because you can see dramatically that it went down. But before that fall off the cliff, you could see that even though there was some rise, it went down and there were some rises off that peak, the overall trend was down. And remember, the trend is our friend, and we're going to learn about drawing trend lines and looking at trend lines here in another lesson. If we look at the same chart, but I pulled out a 6-day period here, you can see where it's a line chart, it says 6H, not 6 day, 6 hour period, a 6 hour period. You can see within a 6 hour period much more volatility, right? Because prices are constantly changing here. And I have a couple, valleys there and one peak there too, and a couple other peaks actually. But notice how, what I want you to notice from this one is notice how that the volume at the bottom, when something dramatic's happening, volume will tend to go up. When prices are falling fast or when prices are rising fast, volume will tend to go with it because people want to get in the market or they want to get out of the market fast. A lot of active traders are like that. Might be some fear or panic selling, or maybe some fear and panic buying, like they don't want to miss out on there too. So you can see how the volume will tend to match up, not always, but will tend to match up with price declines and price rises. So that's your price chart. Once again, pretty straightforward and something you want to get real comfortable with. Price on the vertical, the time period, like this is 6 hours, would be hour 1 would be just starting towards the left, and hour 6 would be to the far right. You can sometimes see volume on the bottom, and you're looking for how are prices changing over time, and we're going to look in a little more detail on that in the upcoming lessons.